It's only now that Dog Rat has pressed go that you'll actually be able to hear us calling it.
Dog Rat. That's one of your finest moments, Al. Dog Rat.
Do you reckon? Is that focused on my face?
What's it all about you?
My face is actually perfectly level with Richard Stewart's face. So this is actually the first ever Cypography podcast. So welcome to the podcast. Dog Rat, do you want to introduce yourself? I'm sorry.
Dog Rat behind the camera is actually Mike, who's knob cam operator.
Yeah, Mike is an extremely important cog in the Cypography wheels. Only, unfortunately for him, this morning I've christened him Dog Rat, and he's very angry about that. So I do apologise for this not starting maybe as seriously as it should do, but a podcast should be a light-hearted thing, I think, and we'll certainly try to make it a little bit like that. Although we will stop calling him that because he's not going to be very happy about it.
Which parts of the dog and which parts of the rat do you see?
Body of the dog, face of the rat, tail of the rat, feet, legs of the rat.
No, legs of a dog. Just like a rat with really long legs.
Okay, so welcome to the Cypography podcast. You might see an intro that we've just done, but we were actually quite horrible to poor old Mike behind the camera, so we're not sure we're going to use that. If we don't, then I should say this. We've been thinking about doing a podcast for quite a long time now. Both myself and Rich have been on a couple of podcasts. We both listen to them regularly, and they're definitely quite a popular form of carp fishing material. So we thought we would do one as well. So this is the first Cypography podcast, the first of many, and I hope you're going to enjoy what you hear. Something we should point out is if you don't like it, or if you do like it, please leave us feedback.
Yes, as long as it's abusive towards Elliott and not to me, which continues a long tradition of people being abusive to Elliott online, then that's the way forward.
Online hate, which I've been subject to many times. Hopefully this will be the end of that. Get it all out your systems, put them in the comment section below if you want to be horrible, and then we'll put that to bed. So, first things first, what should we talk about first?
So there's two things. There's three things. But the first thing, surely, every good carp angler keeps an eye on the moon, and we are right in the middle of the full moon. Right in the middle. Yeah. Tonight or tomorrow. I think it's tonight. We think it's tonight.
The September full moon as well. And do you know what? It's a weird thing for me because it's been a very, very long time since my gear's not even loaded. I don't know if I've ever missed for a very long time. Do you think I've ever missed a September full moon?
The last... Like, I know you've had another little one, but the last year, I've not known you to fish as little as this.
Yeah, I haven't. And I don't want to sound as if I never get to go fishing. I just haven't. That's the way it's fallen. COVID, the way that my lakes have been in terms of spawning, things like that. I've had another baby, middle of the summer. But the main thing has been family things with my friends, because COVID cancelled so much stuff. Holidays I had planned with my family. Weddings with my family, weddings with my friends, trips abroad, so many things that normally are spread out throughout 1 year. The last couple of years have seen them all bundled together, and that has literally meant that I've not barely been fishing. And actually it's quite weird because I thought last year was bad. This year I've hardly been, but that will all change. I'm in a position at the minute where I can't go. I've had so many weekends away, and I've had a really good time, but like I said a minute ago, to sit here now and not even know exactly which day is the full moon is a bit of a weird feeling for me.
It's the harvest moon as well, Al, which, like the September harvest moon, I don't care whether it's no better than the last one, but it sounds like it should be really good.
Yeah, the harvest moon.
reap the harvest, you know? But you'd have been sowing those seeds before.
I'd have been fishing yesterday. I'd been fishing. Yeah, and I was thinking to myself last night, I'm probably going to go tonight after this, but I bet you I don't. But we'll see. I will start to go again soon. The weddings are almost completely out of the way. I've had a stag do this weekend, just gone. I'm going to Ibiza this weekend. Then I'm going away to France with Jim Shelley for 7 or 8 days. Then I've got one more wedding left, and I'm back to normal. And next year, hopefully no one gets married and we can go fishing all the time again. So I think the full moon, it's been spoken about lots.
Can I just ask?
Go on.
You know, you're quite hairy. Do you think it affects you more, the full moon? Like,
Well, I used to get one of my nicknames was actually Wolverine. People used to call me that. I think when I was about
better
18.
it's better than dog rap, to be fair.
Yeah, poor old Mike. So yeah, it does affect me more. But the full moons are, and actually, to be honest, looking out the window now, the weather that this full moon has brought with it doesn't seem that great. And one thing, I don't know where I read it. I think it was actually online years ago, and it was that a full moon will always bring a change in weather. I mean, people may be able to correct me if that's not scientifically true, but I believe it is because I've, as an angler, we pay a lot of attention to the moons, and one thing I have noticed over the years is that change in weather brought on by the moon, and so often it does that. The full moon arrives, the weather changes, the pressure drops, and I'm sure that is it the moon itself that makes us catch these big carp around that period, or is it the weather it brings? I don't know. There's obvious big.
I think the craziest thing about the moon is it exerts that much influence on the Earth that it will pull the oceans into a different shape as it moves nearer and further away from us. So if it affects a water body like that, then you can be sure as hell it affects our lakes. And if you're married, or if you've got cats, you'll also realize that it affects pretty much every life form on the earth.
Yeah, I know people that go out, hunting rabbits, things like that. I think a full moon affects everything in its own way. It certainly affects carp fishing. I don't think it's carp fishing in general. Though. It's big carp fishing. Like, I don't think a full moon is a great time to be out. Full moon tonight, let's go out and catch loads of carp. That is not the case. I think the carp that get caught, you are talking the big carp. Certainly the big commons and stuff. There's no secret about that. But loads of times I've like I say, always fished the full moons. I'm sure there's lots of people that base their fishing.
Does that mean you're more likely to catch on a full moon?
I don't know. I think opposite of that. The birds are going. I actually think that when you're out on those full moons, I always stay up late. Quite often you stay awake most of the night, and you notice the difference on those nights that how scared everything. It's either really quiet or everything's going crazy. All the birds are scared. The animal. There's an eeriness about it. But I've never, looking back, I can't ever think of a time where I've had a night on a full moon where I've caught loads of fish. I'm sure there's cases, there always is, but I think full moon is a big carp thing. It's there's certain fish
you know that Burghfield's going to be rammed tonight.
Yeah.
For instance.
Yeah, and for sure. And like I say, I have not been fishing, especially in England, for quite a bit recently. But yesterday I'm thinking, it's the full moon. Like, I need to go fishing.
But why, right? Is this one of these things, Al, where carp fishing kind of legend gets passed on, and there's no substance to it whatsoever?
I mean, I think Simon Crowe said something about that once. I think he just said something along the lines, if you tracked back all the captures of, if you look at all the days that aren't on a moon that does a load of big fish, it would put the full moon theory to bed. Personally, I don't believe that to be true. Don't quote me on exactly what Simon said, but he's, there's perfect logic behind that. Loads of big carp get caught on days when it's not. But I remember once years ago, there were three big commons near me, 3 different lakes, probably all 10 miles apart, something like that. 2 of the fish, very, very rare carp, hardly ever got caught. Hardly ever got caught. One of the other ones, it would come out. It didn't come out regularly, but it did come out enough, maybe 4 or 5 times a year or something. But on that particular night, on that particular weekend, all 3 of those big commons, they were the 3 biggest commons in the area. They all came out on that night. 2 of them, like I say, very rare carp. Didn't see the bank very often. One of them, not as rare. But there's no coincidence with that. I've caught big commons myself on full moons, and there's loads of captures, especially now carp fishing is documented so well. I don't think you can argue it. But you can't go out and say, just because it's a full moon, you're going to catch a big carp or a big common, anything like that. But in my opinion, there is no doubt in something about that full moon, whatever it is.
And why commons? Why commons? Because obviously, surely that's a leap too far, right?
You don't know, do you? All I know, I've fished for commons a lot because of the area I've lived in.
I was going to say, you're like,
this is it.
You've won some, you've lost some, haven't you, with the commons?
Yeah, and they are like, it's, I don't know what it is. If I knew, then great, but I don't. There's a common I've fished for recently in this area, hardly ever comes out. But those moons, it very rarely gets caught on a normal day. When you look outside the window, like today, look out there now, what, bit of broken cloud, bit of sunshine, nothing makes you want to run out your door and go carp fishing. That particular fish, when those moons bring in that weather that you look out the door and you think, I need to be there today, that's when it gets caught, and it does not really get caught. There is no exception to that rule. You have to have the moon, you have to have that pressure drop, the weather. Other than that, it rarely sees the bank, and you're talking a very, very busy lake, fished by anglers of all different capabilities, but fished so much that it would slip up on other occasions if it wasn't down to that. So whether it's the moon doing that, whether it's those exceptional cases in terms of the weather, I don't know, but the moon brings them with it, and there is, without doubt, I've caught a lot less carp on full moons than I have caught carp on full moons. Most of the time, it's a no-goer, but so many times. The lake I'm fishing, the other ticket I've got, the big common came out yesterday morning. Hasn't been out since I caught it in the spring. That wasn't on a full moon, I don't believe. Hasn't been out since then. Came out yesterday on the full moon. You know, I'm sorry, there's no coincidence. That's not just a mistake. That's not a random thing. There is.
Do you think, it always occurs to me, like when you talk to people who fish Burghfield, for instance, one that would go straight into the top, that in the end, to catch that common, you need several layers of things to fall into place. And one of those can be the moon. The next thing, you know, the weather system. The next thing, like that you fish it unbelievably perfectly. But there's quite a lot. I remember Gaz talking to me about it years ago. I did an interview with him on the Carp Lake back in the magazine days, and he likened it to kind of things just all coming together, like lines converging, yes. and that's when a capture would result.
I think the two, I don't know loads about, but I know enough about Burghfield because I pay attention to it, but I don't know enough about it because I've never fished there, I've never planned to fish there. But the two things to me about that carp, one of them is he always seems to get caught in those really hot days. Why that is, do not know. Those alarmingly hot periods of summer seems to be a great time to catch it. The other thing is the areas it gets caught from. It seems, from an outside looking in and paying a lot of attention, it almost seems like if you're fishing Burghfield and you can look at the lake as it is at that point, because it will very quickly change. If you can look at the lake on that day and say, that's the area that at the moment we don't have access to, or that's the area that for whatever reason isn't being fished, that carp is almost thinking the same thing. That's the area they're not fishing for me in. And it does seem, like I say, from an outside looking in, that fish gets caught from the areas that haven't been getting fished, or from the areas that someone all of a sudden gets access to. You know, there's lots of examples of that, particularly height of summer, I think, in terms of the captures, but that carp knows where it's being fished for and where it doesn't. Does it get caught on the full moons? It's the biggest common in the country, but I don't actually know if it does. Thinking about it, I don't think that is a carp I would say is renowned for getting caught on a full moon. I could be totally wrong in saying that. I don't think it is. Hasn't been caught loads of times, but
I mean, recently, I'm probably skipping ahead a little bit here, Al, but we were, Mike and I were out last week with Stokesy, largely because we filmed a couple of things. Firstly, we filmed a really lovely technical piece on his rig, which hopefully is going to give people a bit of take home. But the main reason we were there was to flesh out a thing that we started in the summer on Burghfield on the most like pollen infested day. I mean, I was in bits because of the hay fever, which I don't particularly get badly, but this day it was dreadful. There were clouds of pollen puffing up in our faces as we walked around that great lake with Tom, and he talked his way round that lake. So you're going to be able to see something a bit different to the normal end game. But listening to Tom record his time on Burghfield, I'm not sure that there's anyone has understood that lake as well as he now does. He's the sort of guy that doesn't miss anything. Everything that he sees is drawn into this bigger map and a bigger kind of understanding of a lake and the way a fish sort of behaves within it. So to get that kind of level of detail is always fascinating. And for me, as someone who is interested in, you know, the documenting carp fishing, it doesn't get any better than the moments when someone at the very top of their game is relating something that they were incredibly passionate about, but more to the point, something that they know inside out. Because there's a lot of wool and a lot of fluff talked by anglers when they kind of have an idea about things, and it's kind of worked despite them not really knowing it fully. But Tom knows every stone on that lake. And I'm racking my brains. There will be guys who know it as well, Burghfield, Stew, who've been on there years and years and years, Oz probably. But Tom, I think it's just right. He did enough time that he fell in love with the lake. He understood the lake. He deserved his capture thoroughly. And when it came, it was lovely to be there. And that's kind of brings us back round in a funny way to why we're doing the piece in the first place. And it's because we've got this footage that I shot on the day. It didn't get used. It's now going to be used. So hopefully we're going to see, I think there's about 10 minutes of it. So it'll be something quite nice to see that go out, because it's not often you get to see people in the moment, and he is.
Yeah, he's an in the moment kind of guy, isn't he? I think what you said a second ago about how he's a guy that knows that lake inside out. I've seen lots of different anglers over the years when you fish with them. I've fished with some guys who are exceptionally good at turning up and catching carp, but they never build a bigger picture. And in over time, that actually lets them down. If you started fishing there with them at the same time, they'd catch more than you to begin with. But some anglers don't build that picture in the head. They're always thinking about like now, and they don't have an ability to actually put all that information together. Stokesy is not one of those. He, to me, like you say, is a guy that every single day, every second he spends at the lake is all going towards building a greater understanding of that lake. And like you say, for him to have spent, 5 years fishing there, undoubtedly he would have drawn all that information into a big. And I'm actually pretty gutted I wasn't there for the interview, but I am kind of glad because I'll get to see I'll get to sit there and listen to Stokesy's story when we release the film. But he's definitely a guy. I think Dan actually mentioned it in the podcast. One of the Norton Disney bailiffs or whatever it was mentioned how in tune Tom had got with. And I think when you live and breathe somewhere, he's a live and breathe angler, isn't he? Like he's an in the moment angler. He's a live and breathe angler, and they're the guys that build those understandings of it becomes as much their surroundings as the fish they're fishing for,
I'm sure that quite a few of the lads on Burghfield have caught, lots of carp, but for me it kind of feels like it's a bit different when you're in that 100 club on there, like Terry, Oz, Tom. I'm sure there are others, and in no way is this any disrespect to them. I don't know that they've caught over 100. There will be others, but the guys who've caught over 100, you think you've earned that shit. You have bled.
Catch the carp, you deserve the carp.
I mean, Laney went there, knocked it out. Like incredible bit of angling. Everyone credits him with a really, really kind of astute bit of like classic Laney gamesmanship. And it took that to sort of trick that fish. He tricked it, didn't he?
He's one of the guys I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Looked at the lake. Where can that carp? There was a recent capture years ago, more recently, same kind of thing. Looks at the lake. Where is that carp safe? And you can, when you can do that on any lake though. I don't think just Burghfield. I think any lake with areas of lake that are inaccessible for periods of time. Those carp are so aware of that. We were looking in the pond this morning, weren't we? About how readily the fish eat the mixers when you throw food in the pond. They clock that a single mixer, they'll clock that on the floor. And I think carp are extremely capable of locating food. And if they're in a completely natural environment and they're not scared of anglers, they'll be very easy a carp with his guard down is a lot easier to catch than one who's got his guard up. And I think the Burghfield Common is one of the for me, it's like the perfect example of a carp that does extremely well until you all of a sudden you start fishing for it in an area where it thinks it's safe.
Well, I think
the key.
I think Tom even mentions it in the story. I'm not stealing his thunder, but in any way by saying that I think it was his third year maybe or fourth when Scott Lloyd caught it. They let bait boats back on. All of a sudden, the middle was accessible. Boom, gets caught. I'd like to see you go and fish somewhere like that, El. I know it's probably not going to happen now. It feels like that ship is sailing rapidly as you turn your sort of attentions more Europe bound. But you're the kind of guy that you've got the right mind for that.
Yeah, I like a puzzle. I like to have something to like really.
But you're not going to get that in Europe, mate.
No, but I think there.
Retired, hasn't he? That's what he's done.
I'm retiring. I think the thing I like about Europe is I'm so bored of just going to places and then being the same as the last one. And it's like because I've never fished any massive lakes over here. You go to places and it's like they're all kind of the same. You've got a different bush, but you've got the same thing. You've got the same angling pressure. You've got the same, desperation for swims. You've got the same small windows of opportunity when the weather arrives. The same small stock of carp. Everyone knows what they're fishing for. As soon as it gets caught, you're like, oh, that. And actually, I've done that for so long on such similar lakes, all small waters, that when I go away now, I love the fact that we don't know where we're going. We don't really know what we're fishing for. We don't know where the shops are. We don't know. There's so much that we don't know. And actually, the last thing you want to do is have all that on you and then get there and think, and we're probably not going to catch anything even if we get. So the nice thing is actually everything else becomes hard and the fishing becomes easy. Whereas over here, I think it can be a little bit different. Everything else is so easy, but the fishing is the harder bit at times. And yeah, I just think I've not done a lot of fishing out in Europe at all, the grand scheme of things. But there's one thing I remember from every trip that I have done is I absolutely love it, and I love it for such different reasons to what I love here. Like, there is nothing better than fishing for these carp in these small pressured lakes in England and being against anglers as well as the fish. But I am a bit bored of walking around a lake and just thinking I've got to talk to, not got to talk, but I've got to walk past 6 blokes to get around this place. And really, sometimes it's nice just to go fishing and not have that, not have that element of so many things to get in your way.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke about this recently with Mike on the Baitworks podcast. The quicker you can get to the point where you realise that fishing is about being happy as opposed to forcing yourself to do something, the better. And I said at the time, I'm not there. I still put myself through the crap bits because I, in some vain hope that it's going to come together. I know that I could go on a different water and enjoy it from the minute I shut the gate to the minute I'm back in the car. But I don't feel like I'm quite there. Maybe you've got there quicker, or maybe you're at the point now where you're like, do you know what? Fishing should make you happy. Out and out, it should make you happy.
But when I fish it, I still love fishing here. I do love it. But like, I get to, but like I say, and I keep going back to this thing about it's the size of the lakes that I fish. If I was to fish massive lakes, it would be different. I've no doubt about that. But you'd probably be thinking, well, why don't you just go and fish a massive lake then? Okay, I could. And part of my thing about wanting to go abroad is I want to learn how to use my boat. I want to learn how to use an echo sounder. I want to learn how to navigate these places in a wind, because it's all well and good. Anyone can row a rig out to a spot when it's flat calm, but try and do that on a day. Try and do that in the dark. Try and do that in the rain and the wind.
Oh mate, as soon as boats are involved, it is ag.
And to fish the big to fish these big lakes that we have over here, that's the kind of fishing that I would want to do. But if I'm talking 8 to 20 acre lakes or 5 to 20 acre lakes, that's all I've ever done. I've done that, and I've fished a lot since I was a kid. And nowadays, I just kind of get the feeling a little bit that I'm going around the same old thing.
Don't blame you, mate. I mean,
and like you said, I'm such a thinker when I go fishing. Some people can fish a lake for ages and they're not building a picture, but I spend so much time analysing everything, I almost drive myself a little bit crazy.
Well, I know, and like your last, I'm not sure that I can name it, but the last campaign you did, when you caught everything but the big one, and you were faced with doing that again, it almost seems like that finished you off.
Yeah, that is what done me, to be fair. That is, like, I had one thing, I'd never had it before, where I hadn't caught the carp I wanted to catch because it died. I'd never had that before, but that completely, it didn't take the wind, it did take the wind down. It didn't stop me wanting to do that kind of fishing. It just made me so aware of how much time you can spend. And if you'd have asked me at the time, was it worth it? I'd have said, oh, absolutely it's worth it. I'd spend 10 years fishing for this carp. But if you ask me now, was it worth it? I say absolutely not. I look back at those, I caught the second, third, fourth biggest carp from that lake in my first 3 or 4 months, and then spent 4 years wasting springs, summers, autumns, winters. And I look back at those years now, and because I didn't catch a big, and of course it was in a way, it was all a waste of time. You don't get that time back. And you can catch a lot of carp in 4 years.
But this is the point. If you're thoroughly enjoying the process, then it isn't wasted time.
No, and I did thoroughly enjoy the process. Yes, I did. But at the same time, I spent a lot of time on that lake. You can't always enjoy it all the time. On a club lake, you can't, in my opinion. There's too many
No, I agree.
periods where,
And that's what I said to Mike. I'm not in a position where I'm not doing the sort of fishing where I can always enjoy it.
no, yeah, you can't, but I think, and to be honest, if I keep going fishing abroad, I'll probably get bored of it in the end, and maybe there'll be stuff I don't enjoy. I want to come back to these small lakes here, but they're never going anywhere. Those small lakes on my doorstep, they're never going away. I've got lovely carp in them. I've got some great tickets in England. I've got some fantastic tickets in England. In fact, I've got 4 or 5 tickets now. I don't need any for a long time. But there's just something. I love getting all my kit ready at the minute. Because it's so new. I love doing new things, and like there's some serious carp abroad. But for me, it's not really. In England, it's all about the carp. The only reason I go fishing. Maybe not the only reason, that might be a bit strong, but it is all about the fish. I will fish lakes where I don't really enjoy it. I'll fish them for periods of time which I don't really want to be doing, because it's all about those carp and they're worth the sacrifice.
This is something really interesting to me. I've got to ask you this: what's on my mind? I feel like we're gonna go off on a massive tangent here in a way, and I will pull us back, or you can, but. Again, harking back to my Baitworks podcast, Mike and I discussed how good Tim Paisley was at enjoying the moment. He talked about it on our For the Record, when he swings his legs out of bed, sticks the burner on, has a coffee. In a way, doesn't care if he's on fish. Chris Yates, incredible at enjoying life. I look at guys like you who've been very focused, ambitious, thrusting through the big carp scene, and wonder if you find the same enjoyment in those moments where there's carp aren't involved.
I don't think no, because if you wake up and the first thing that went through my head is, there's no carp here, but look how beautiful the morning is, immediately I'm like, I don't give a shit how beautiful the morning is. I've seen so many of them. Like, they're beautiful, yes, but I'm not there to look at the sunrise. I'm not getting up at that time of day to look at the sunrise. Yes, they're lovely. The perfect morning is, look how beautiful that sunrise is.
Slosh.
Look how big that carp is in the sack.
Yeah.
That's the perfect morning. Look how beautiful the sunrise is. There's
So
no
it's all
carp
got
there.
to come together for you to enjoy it in a way.
Not to enjoy it, but for it to be like, because, for me to really enjoy it, yes, like, I'm not there for those things.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not. If I was, I probably would drive there at that time in the morning rather than sleep rougher in the night, But they are a magical part of it.
Okay. I mean, that's part of what we... I sense, actually, you probably get more joy filming it than you do...
I love it. I love those moments, but I'm not happy. I won't go, okay, well, I got everything wrong, but it was a lovely morning, so that's enough. That's not how I look at it. It's like, okay, I'd rather it was a horrible morning than I was on fish.
Yeah, fair enough. I did want to, before we move on, I wanted to give a big shout out to our good friend of Cypography, personal friend, Simon Scott, on his capture of the BC, because, I think many of us were like really hoping that it could happen. And I think even Si, I don't say he started to doubt it. I don't think he ever, he's a very positive kind of guy. But when you're fishing there, there's always an element of doubt that it might never come along. But, the more that I talk to him about it, the more I hear about it, the better that capture seems,
Yeah. It's just nice to see. It's nice to see nice guys who try hard to catch big carp, isn't it?
And he has grafted.
Like,
for that.
What's there not to like? Fair play to him, and it is lovely to. Well, I say lovely to see. I've only seen a couple of pictures, but they're the classic.
Yeah,
Burghfield
I mean, he's
common
going
shots,
to do a slideshow, I think, which I'm going to go to, because there's no better speaker on carp fishing, I don't think, in front of an audience.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to put Terry up there. I think Tom Stokes is going to be at that level, but at the minute, Si is,
without a doubt,
right up there. I want to pull us back onto track. On my way here this morning, I was engrossed in the Corder Dave Moore podcast, and Dave's a mate. I've known Dave a long time. Almost a unique carp angler, I would say. Like, it's very difficult to sum Dave up, but one thing I was fascinated by, and one thing I find myself more and more fascinated by, is the bait chat. he's talking about the fact that, obviously Dave came up with the big fish mix, the Nutrix big fish mix, in I think it was like the late 70s, but anyway, he now uses a very similar mix, he was saying, with some changes, and has better results than ever on this particular bait because he knows it inside out. I want to know bait inside out, and there are very few people in this country who know enough about bait to even tell me or have a conversation with. So the reason I'm asking is because I know that you did it a few years ago, or more than a few years ago now. You had your own bait rolled, didn't you?
I met a guy called Clayton. Used to fish a little lake near me. I always think on a little lake you notice things better. You notice small changes. You notice when the lake's busy. You notice when an angler's doing something different. You notice when he's doing something well because everything's more condensed. You notice when people are doing something wrong. The success and failure, they're more visible, and the smaller the arena is, if you want to call it that.
You're eyeball to eyeball. You're looking at the guy across the lake,
yes.
aren't you? Yeah.
And this lake was a small. Loads of people around my way will know the lake. It's a tiny little estate lake, really small, really shallow, really silty, full of lovely carp. I say full, 40, 50, 60 carp. It varied over the years as they spawned. But this guy called Clayton, he used to rock up. Yes, he knew the lake. You could say, oh, he knows the lake really well. But actually, it doesn't matter because the lake is, like I say, very small, very shallow, very, very silty. It doesn't really matter what you do. You've got presentation is probably your biggest problem because it is that silty. It's easy not to present. I think actually it's probably easy to have your rigs dragged into the silt and not even know about it. I'd love to have been able to look at every rig I ever cast in there and see how many of them were actually fishing. I think it'd be really interesting. But one thing Clayton used to do, other than take the absolute piss fishing well too far, turning up just as it got dark, carving right up the middle of the lake to get to all the good areas which technically he couldn't fish to, he would fish to, you'd hear it get dark and then you'd hear whew of Clayton's rod. That was him taking liberties. But one thing he used to always do, he used to turn up and he used to catch, and he didn't do anything special. A lot of the time he turned up there at a time where other people were already in situ. It's a very small lake, the best swimmers were gone. Too small a lake to say, oh, well, they pushed into that area because of angling pressure. It was nothing to do with that. The thing that he had on that lake was he had a bait that when he cast it out, the fish found it hard not to eat. And on a lake where they are being fished for relentlessly every single day, one thing they're good at is seeing a bait they want to eat and then not eating it because they know that the end result will probably be them getting caught. Clayton had a bait. I won't speak too much for him, but the ins and outs of the bait are basically, from what he ever told me and other people said, he got very high quality ingredients. No matter what it is you buy, you can get different levels of quality. That can go from anything from bread to milk to boilies to pellets to cars, you name it. Everything has its certain degrees of quality. He said he had a friend, I don't know if he was some sort of a chemist or something weird like that, but he could get hold of ingredients that were well above the usual standard. So he would get the best powders, the best liquids, lots of these things. And he said his bait would cost him 35 quid a kilo or whatever to make. He never used hardly any bait. He would turn up, he used to clip a rod up, clip stringers onto it, he'd put 2 or 3 stringers out there, maybe 3 baits on each one, then a single hook bait out to the same clip, sit there for a few hours. And over the years when you see him do it, he didn't fish there all the time, but he always turned up and he always got bites. You just noticed that actually it didn't boil down to much else other than the fact that they didn't swim past his bait very comfortably without going, I'm going to eat that. And on a small lake like that, 40 or 50 carp in a couple of acres, generally most of those carp are in the central acre of the lake, I suppose. If he had rods out in that area, so often he would get bites because I firmly believe, and I'm pretty certain the biggest factor was his bait. They couldn't swim past his bait without wanting to eat it. But you can't buy his bait out of a shop because it costs £35 a kilo, and that's what gave him such a big edge.
I think I'm sure most of the bait guys who know their stuff could make a bait that they couldn't afford to produce commercially. That would be better. That would be better.
So I did a bait with Clayton. So I got to the point where I thought, do you know what? Every single thing I do in fishing, I always try to do it to the absolute best it can be. I tried to use the sharpest hook I can use, strongest line, whatever. And I thought, what about my bait? No one, it's not doing anyone a disservice. Like I use Baitworks now, but Baitworks can't give me a bait that's as good as I can make myself. They can't, and no bait company can. Because
well, they could, but it just cost them.
They could,
yeah.
But it would cost them. Baitworks can't provide a bait commercially that people are going to look at. They could do it, but it would be £45 a kilo. They could do that tomorrow. And I actually gave my ingredient list to Mark. So I sat down with Clayton and I said, this is the stuff I would like to have in it. What can you add? What can you tell me I need on top of that to make this bait the bait it needs to be, to make this like a complete bait? And when I gave it to Mark Bryant, I remember him texting me back saying, Jesus, you got some ingredients in there, and obviously the levels are another thing. Mark added a few ingredients to make it more of a sort of like a stable food source, because Clayton's fishing is always short sessions. He's never been a session angler. Caught some incredible carp, fish like the Royal 40. He's caught fish from toll pits. He's caught some lovely carp. Always on short sessions, and he wants his bait to flush all of its attraction out of inside 12 hours. And Mark wants a bait.
You're more of a full-timer.
Yeah, I'm more of a full-timer, yeah. I want to sit there for as long as possible. I want to sit there rotting. But Mark was like, if you use that bait, he said, if you're going for 40 hours and you put that bait out, he said, after 12 hours, it's not really doing anything for you. Long term, it doesn't have the carbs and stuff in it that it needs. So Mark looked at it from a slightly different level, but all that did was highlight more that what Clayton's bait was actually doing for him. For Mark to see that ingredient list.
Super soluble, is that what we're saying? Yeah.
Super soluble. And as soon as Mark looked at it, he was like, mate, that is a bait. I think he said something like, a carp can only digest there's only a certain amount of protein, a percentage it can digest. It's quite low. And anything past that level is, basically just goes down to being attraction. And this was like 36% protein or something. And miles more than it needed to be in terms of what a carp wanted it from it as a food source, but in terms of attraction, super attractive, but super soluble, and within 12 hours would almost die on its arse. So Mark tweaked that bait, added some carbs to it, made it more of a food source that they could, they would want to keep coming back to, but also keeping those really sort of inherent attraction levels. And I caught loads on that bait, but in the end, I just stopped using it. It was ag to get the ingredients. It was expensive. I've still got some cork balls in my freezer actually.
What's the overriding? Give people who are listening a bit of an idea of what it smelled like.
I used to put it was super fishy, very salty.
Yeah.
I still got the ingredients list somewhere. I never threw that away. I used to put Activate with it. I loved Activate. I was actually using Mainline at the time. I used Activate, but I think there's no secret. The Activate of today is not the same as the Activate of what it was years ago. Things change, ingredients go, they come and go. But that was the liquid I put on it. But very, very fishy, very salty, very soft, red fish meal. I think I used to give James Turner some. Ginger James, like he was on it straight away, and we all caught carp on it. The fish used to shit it out. I think one of the first places I've used it was over your place properly, and they would shit the bait out, and it was good. It was a good bait. I don't know what it was at the time that made me just stop using it. I think I'll tell you what, I know exactly what it was. It was getting it from Mark. It was, it wasn't doing him no favours.
No, he's getting busier. He's having to fit that
into
his schedule to roll.
And I'm not even on his sponsored angles
at
at the time. We're using Mainline, and so he just, maybe I should ask him to do it for me now. Yeah, it was a great bait.
Do you reckon Clayton gave you everything?
Absolutely. Do you know what I don't think that would even matter. He could have given me everything, but I think that he still had access to the ingredients that were just on another level. So everything everything he had, he could have given to me. But unless he gave me those physical ingredients,
he knew that you wouldn't source the quality that he was getting.
Not wouldn't. I think couldn't.
Yeah.
I think couldn't. Yeah. But that could be bollocks. That could be like rumour mill. That's why his bait's so good. His mate's a scientist, and any scientists out there, I don't know. Can you get really good green lip mussel and stuff? Maybe you can. But I don't doubt there's an element of, some people are subject to better ingredients. And if you've got a mate that can do it, I think do it. You can, especially if you're a guy buying bait out the shops and that, you take a little bit of time, you can make a good bait. But it takes effort. it smells. It's easy to throw a kilo of boilies in. It's not so easy to roll them. Like, you know, but it's a whole new world. That I think it's the one piece to carp fishing, probably one of the most significant pieces that no one really dips their toe into. It's like they do everything else, but they just can't be bothered to make.
But my worry, Al, is that the people who actually know, the likes of Morsey, you know, they're not going to be in the game forever. What the hell's going to happen to that knowledge?
Someone will go. I think.
How is it being passed on?
Maybe they're the sort of things that make people have to get off their arse and learn and do it.
Funnily enough, we've been talking. I mean, I'm sure I'm not giving anything away by saying that we've been talking a bit to John Baker. Had a couple of fascinating chats with him. We're going to do some stuff with John.
Yeah,
we're going to do some technical stuff with John, which will allow you guys to, if you want to look at what bait you're using and to maybe look how you can get involved a little bit more in the bait. Not saying change what bait you're using, but we're gonna do some stuff with John that will just allow you to bring what is quite a nice little side hobby into your fishing.
Yeah, it's wicked making bait.
Yeah, and he's seen a huge uptick in people wanting that knowledge and wanting to get involved in making their own bait again. People who haven't done it for years. You know, it's almost become a bit of a cottage industry.
Why? I mean, why wouldn't you? I think like
if I had a robot to roll it for me, I'd do it.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm just happy. One thing I will say about Mark, the bait I use now is I genuinely believe it to be as good as you will buy off the shelf. I genuinely believe that. So unless he's all of a sudden going to start rolling these wonder baits, I mean, I don't believe I can get better. So I'm more than happy to use it. But if you're a guy who's no one's doing you any favours, no one's giving you cheap bait, no one's getting you bait for £5-6 a kilo. You know, unfortunately, I don't have to pay for my bait. Mark gives my bait to me, and I use it. So if you're someone that has to pay for your bait, you don't get any favours. You're not saving any. Why not take the plunge into a whole new world of making bait? Which actually, if you do it right, it ain't going to catch you any less carp. Probably will catch you more.
No, it seems that way. Dave, I think if you ask someone like Dave Moore, he says it will catch you more carp. A better bait will catch you more, and I've often heard people say a better bait you have to use less. I don't know. What's the bigger edge? Having access to unlimited quantity or having access to quality? Yeah, I mean, if you can couple the two like you've got, then
I think quality. You want quality over quantity all day, every day of the week. Some people may say different. But yeah, you've never made bait before. Try. I used to do it when I was a kid. Loved it.
Yeah, we had to though, in a way.
Yeah, I suppose. But I could have gone down the shop a lot. But it was fun. It was like I think I'm not going to tell the story again about when I made the bait and turned it into dog poos. I think I told that on the Corda podcast. So yeah, you can listen to that if you want to hear that. But yeah, my first spell in making bait, we basically ended up with a bait that we deemed shit, not good enough. Literally shit, not good enough for use. So we made it into dog poos and spread it around the high street and watching people walk home from work and dodging them all on the way back. But yeah, I would certainly advise
wait for our series
looking
with John.
wait for our series with Baker.
I think we're going to do some nice Wednesday take-home stuff with John, who is undeniably one of the guys who knows.
Bait guru.
I want to sidestep a bit, we should sidestep a bit, and that's going back to the kind of meteorological side of carp fishing. I blanked in the fog this weekend, mate, and I want to blame the fog. Tell me I can blame the fog.
Everyone blanks in the fog. I don't remember the first time I noticed the fog thing. I think it might have been when someone caught in the fog, and I was like, I don't know if I've ever caught in the fog. The only time I remember catching in the fog was at the pig farm at Mark Bryant's place.
We won't love you for that.
The pig farm, sorry.
Blue Water.
At Blue Water. Yeah. It was freezing fog, and I caught 3. I had 3 to 39, and I'm sure that was as the fog came in. I think for the last one, or maybe I think maybe only one of them was in thick fog. I don't know what it is. I really do not know what it is.
No, we're not here to answer the question.
Yeah, if anyone out there has even, I don't even.
How many catch picks do you see in the fog?
None, because there is none to have. That's why. That's the only reason why. Because you can't catch in the fog. Maybe every now and then, but you don't. And I remember vividly quite a few. Once this dawned on me, sessions where I was so buzzing. Everything seemed so good. And all of a sudden it started to get foggy and you're like, no. trying to waving your mat, trying to blow the fog away because it is the kiss of death. I don't know if it's something to do with the atmosphere or whether it makes everything look really light at night. I don't know what it is. I don't catch nothing.
I'll tell you what though, mate.
It looks good.
The old tufty torch through the fog was amplified. I flicked the tufty torch on at like 6 o'clock, which at the minute is first light, and it was like, I reckon half the lake went up, mate. It was like it magnified the beam to the point where they were like, or it was lighting up the sort of the moisture particles right next to them, and they were like, holy. So
I had a thing when I was in France about a month ago. I went out in the pitch black, long way out, and I went out, and that was really not fog, like mist, but swirling. And I was out in the middle of the lake in the pitch black with my little head torch. It wasn't very good. And obviously you can't really see anything. And it was one of the weirdest experiences in my life. All the mist was swirling around the boat. And it felt, at times, I was going along and I felt like I was...
almost like drunk.
I was spinning. Yeah. And I'm looking at the back around in the boat, trying to get my bearings. And I remember being out there looking back. I had a tiny little light hanging in the tree. And I just thought, if that light goes out, I have no idea where I'm going to end up because, like I say, and every now and then you'd hit the fog with the torch on, and it would obviously because it's white, you can't see, and you come out the other side of this little fog cloud, mist cloud, and then you can see again. In the end, I just sort of turned my torch off and went that way. But yeah, I don't know why you can't catch in it. Well, you can catch in it. I don't know why. Very rarely do people catch in it, and I'm not speaking for myself. I'm sure you're not when you say that. Well, there aren't many.
Well, actually. And it's almost immediately contradictory to what I just said. But so I blanked. I was buzzing because the previous weekend I'd caught one, a rare capture for me. Went back, prepped, went back the following Friday night. Woke up to thick fog, dooming, blanked, packed up, went home, and a mate rang me who'd got one in the bag. And he
during
had
the fog?
Yeah, he had one in the night and the one in the morning.
He probably brought them with him.
You must have, mustn't he? That was Chris. that was Chris. Out the edge as well. So God knows. Maybe.
I don't. All I know is.
What's worse, fog or rain? Because no one catches in the heavy rain either.
Yeah, I've had weirdly. I had trips last year where I was catching in the pissing rain, and normally don't. I don't know, like during it or just after it. Yeah, but last year I was having sessions last autumn where I was catching in when I was normally not expecting to. But something about that fog and during massive rainstorms over the years, very rarely have I stood out in them. Caught a lot of carp after them, caught a lot of carp before them, but not normally during those real heavy downpours.
I'm not sure if Europe's different, but if you watched Gaz's film that was out a few weeks ago, you'll have seen him
torrential rain
in a storm.
It's rare that
happens. Into two, I think, in the end. But that was really, when you look at it, he's playing a fish initially in heavy rain, but by the time that Stefano's jumped in and taken the other rod, the storms rolled by. So maybe it was the very tail end of it.
Yeah, and they were already there having it as well, weren't they?
Yeah, and you get that mad, glassy calm after a storm, don't you?
Amazing. That's when the cloud goes
extremely dark blue, like bruise coloured, and the lake just goes flat. Yeah, it's pretty, especially, I mean, they're amplified in Europe as well, aren't they? You kind of can't go to Europe without having the whole storm experience.
No, you're going to get it.
Or France, definitely. I'm sure it's not quite the same in Holland where you've been. Tell us about Holland, Al, because that seems like that's not where you went, is not where most people would associate.
No. So one of the big things about, so basically what I'm going to start to do now is I'm going to try and go away we're going to try and go like every 5 weeks or so for maybe 3 days to a week, once every 5 weeks. I'm going to go all over the place in Europe, different countries, different types of venue. Holland we didn't actually know until the day before, the day or two before I went. I didn't know if I was going to go to Holland, Belgium or France. I hadn't quite decided. And to some people that might seem crazy. How can you not know where you're going to go? But actually we didn't. And it doesn't really make much odds. Once you drive out there, doesn't matter whether you turn left or right, go to Holland or Belgium. We couldn't go to Belgium because they'd put restrictions in place. You had to isolate for 10 days once you got there. France we'd just been to, so we went to Holland. We were going to go straight into the heart of Holland, to a massive 300-acre park lake, and spend the whole time there. That was the plan. Go to this massive lake, spend the week there. It couldn't have ended up any more different to that. I rang Derek Harrison, been talking to him a little bit. We met him years ago. First time we met him was with when we were filming with Darryl and Dan in Holland on the canal. That's the first time I met him. I don't know if you were there. I think you were.
No.
You might have been with Dan. But I think he came up to me and Darryl. I was with Darryl. Anyway, me and Darryl were there fishing. He was stalking some fish. I was filming Darryl. Derek turned up with his dog. I met him there. Then we obviously filmed with him for the session film. We went to Wasmere. That was great. Because I was going back there, I thought I'll ring him because he does his big carp. What's it called? Big carp
Adventures.
Adventures, yeah. Where basically he takes English guys or anyone really from anyone around Europe. He'll take them fishing. So he knows Holland, he knows Belgium very well, and I thought, it'd be nice to see him en route. So that was our initial plan, go and spend a night with him, then head off to this massive park lake. And I was going with my friend Mitch, who had been with to France a few weeks before, a month or so before. And I thought, right, we'll go and see Derek for a night, it'd be good to see him, see the dog, he's got a lovely dog who I really like. We did a night with him, and then after that first night, our plans just completely changed really, and we actually ended up, we spent 5 days there, or 5 nights. We fished 7 different venues, and we fished a couple of those venues we returned to on more than one occasion. So we were packing up and moving all the time. And when I say moving, I'm not talking like packing down a barrow and chucking it in the car. You're talking 2 boats, engines, bed chairs, the whole. Sometimes just to get something out of the truck, you had to empty the whole truck because it was at the back. So a week of crazy moving around. But it was so much fun because we went to so many different places. We saw so many different things, and we ended up in the heart of Amsterdam. Towards the end of the trip, we were literally like, for all the smokers among you, I'm sure there's lots, carp fishing and all that. All the smokers among you that go to Amsterdam, we were minutes out from where you guys will know as Amsterdam, and we were catching carp. And I caught one of the nicest carp. I texted you at the time. I mean it. I've said it to you in the past, and you were like, "That's a big statement." But it was one of the nicest carp I've caught, and it's from such a weird place when you don't expect it.
And
like,
how did the fact that you had to fish and travel the way you did affect the way you could film?
So it was all right because I quite like filming. I actually find it almost easier to film like that than I do when I'm out actually filming something.
Is that because you have to a certain extent abandon the principles that we've perhaps held for a long time about setting things up the way you want it, exactly, precisely, managing as much as you can, whereas actually you're just going to stick a camera in front of your face and
and it's like a different style of filming. So it's not so much I'm not doing it wrong. I'm not doing it. You're doing it. That is that style. So like holding the camera and talking to the camera for a minute. It's very much more in the moment. So normally we might go out, we're going to film something, we want to say something, it takes us 5 minutes to frame it all up, then they say it. It's nice to be able to just pick the camera up and say it, pick the camera up and film what's happening.
Do you think that brings people closer to the experience?
I think miles, like 100%. Like the stuff I did last time for Brexit when we went to France, when I look back at that, I'm like, that's how it was, that's how it happened. Like, you can make a beautiful film, and we've made loads over the years of beautiful films. Everything's not staged, that's completely the wrong word, but everything's
you just manage
meticulously
things
done. And I still like that. All the GVs or people. I should say what it means because everyone always says to me, "What does GV mean?" It means general view. So it's a shot of some reeds or a duck or the skyline, the horizon, anything that's just a general shot of the lake. That's a GV. So I still get all those. Take the time out to get all those GVs which sew everything together. But yeah, filming it in a much more rough style, using GoPros a bit more, trying to basically build the perfect cross between what our films are typically like, what I would like to think are quite a high production level, crossing that with something that people would know as a vlog. It's in between the two. So you cross the two styles, but everything is, like you say, far more in the moment.
And it has to be because it's solo shot. I mean, I know Mitch probably picks up the camera.
Yeah, he's absolutely bossed it, to be fair, Mitch. Like, he's filmed me really well.
Tell us about Mitch's strengths, though, because obviously any Brexit, what viewers previously will have loved your chemistry with Dave. Like, how does it work with Mitch? Like, what's his personality like that allows him to fish with you?
I think Mitch is a guy I met years ago. Get on really well with him. He's a good angler, and I think you kind of need that at times on them sort of trips because things can get it can get a bit. Sometimes it is pretty tough. Like get a bit grueling. One of the nights he didn't fish. He didn't like this canal. He threw his toys out the pram. I won't ever forgive him for it, because actually he was a miserable bastard for about 12 hours. He barely spoke to me. He went silent on me one night. He didn't obviously want to fish in this canal where I caught that linear from. I'm glad I did.
Oh,
but he got the ump. He didn't want to fish there. He didn't fish, and he just sort of he moped about all night, went to bed. That was one of the similarities of him and Dave, because Dave actually is quite partial to a tantrum as well. Particularly, it seems, when they don't eat very well. And as I'm sure you know, I am partial to not eating very well.
/ at all.
And but I don't get, it doesn't wear me down. I don't get tired because I don't get grumpy. So I'm quite, obviously I'm driving, I'm sort of leading everything. It's up to me where we go. So I think I just kind of like drove him to exhaustion, and then maybe to a bit of a is it hangry, they say? Is it hangry? I think Mitch got hangry and grumpy. But yeah, the differences between him and Dave, both very capable anglers, both know how to, certainly both know how to catch their carp. Dave is trained him as a cameraman. He had that on his side. Luckily, Mitch has took a massive interest in cameras over the last few years. He's bought a Sony, what we use, and he gets it. And I think there's a big thing, as we've often spoken about over the years. Some people get it, some people don't. Luckily, he does. So pass him the camera, tell him what to do. By the end of the shoot, wasn't even telling him what to do. But it's important to go away with someone, I think, on those sort of things that is a relatively capable angler for certain, wants to be there as much as you. Their head isn't going to drop too easy. Feeding them, I think, is from what I've learned, seems to be the key to a happy life. Feed your accomplices. If you're not going to feed them, maybe don't make them sleep in a crack den on the side of a canal in the middle of Holland.
Would you go on your own, Al?
Yeah, I would, but I don't know if I'd find it. Like I say, it's not really the same sort of. I don't really go for that same thing. I don't know. I would go on my own. Yeah, I would. Will I? I won't try to go on my own. I don't think I'll try to. Be a bit like, I don't know. It wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be remotely the same.
So without giving too much away, what have you got planned for these jaunts coming up this year? What's left of this year, and then you must be looking ahead a bit.
Yeah. So it's what is it now? So it's what is it? What is it today?
September.
End of September.
Middle.
Is it?
Yeah.
Middle of September. So next trip's going to be Jim.
Which is mad. Sorry.
Yeah.
Jim Shelley.
Yeah.
If I missed any of the chemistry between you and Dave, that will be quickly forgotten when you go out with Jim, because everybody who watches that Hunter, the best thing about it is your relationship with Jim.
We've already talked about how we're going to glue each other up and stuff
He's
like that.
literally like your mum.
He's going to hate it, mate. He's going to get. I reckon we're going to have a bit of a Barney. It's going to be funny. I think I'm going to get on his nerves a bit. I don't know.
But please do, because that's what we find funny, right?
Yeah, I'm going to try to. But yeah, he's been on at me for a while about going. Obviously, I'd really like to go, not just for my sake, because I know all the people that watch the Hunter series that we do with him. I know how much they'd like to see it. But I know he's turning his attitude is turning very much towards the Europe thing as well. He's not really done it, I know that. But he wants to, I think I can see him starting to go fishing in Europe a lot more. I think once I take him, that's going to be it.
What sort of fishing are you going to put him in front of?
Completely wild, hopefully. Completely wild. The sort of campfire jobby, boat into a swim that's not a swim. Fishing for carp that are probably quite easy to catch if we're on them. He'll like that. He doesn't want to. And he said, I don't want none of that fucking non-stop thing that you and your mate done. It's one of the places we went to the other month.
Does Jim watch our stuff then?
Yeah, I think a bit. And then Norman just takes the piss out of me for like my hair and stuff recently.
I reckon he only watches your bits.
He blocks a lot of our stuff. We
saw that, didn't we, in the last...
He blocks our stuff on Instagram. Any anglers that he doesn't want to see... No, he doesn't block them. He reports our posts to Instagram. So if we put a picture up, won't name the anglers. There's a few anglers that Jim doesn't like seeing on our Cypography feed. So rather than just not look at the picture, he reports us to Instagram every time for... I don't know what the reasons would be, but he's actually done it next to me. I sat there, I was like,
hilariously, it's on film, right?
I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, reporting you. I was like, what do you mean you're reporting me? I'm not looking at him. Again, I won't name the angler, but he's basically sat next to me, and every week we have a new angler on or whatever. So throughout that week, Jim is is reporting us like 15 times a week that week because he doesn't want to look at that angler. And when I noticed him doing it, I was like, how long have you been doing that for? And I made him show me back through our Cypography feed. And when you look at it on his iPhone, most of them are greyed out. There's only the odd post on there from us that isn't greyed out.
Maybe you can tell us who he was looking at though.
He was blocking them.
No. Which one was he leaving?
I can't. I'll make that a mission.
Who will Jim tolerate? That's the question.
When we go away, I'll nick his phone and I'll have a look through it. But he's told me I'm not allowed to do two things. I'm not allowed to film him when he pisses, because I've done that to him and he was really upset about that. He said I was a pervert. So I'm not allowed to film him when he pisses. I'm not allowed to film him when he washes, because he washes in the water, which I think will be quite funny if I will film him, hopefully on the long lens, washing in the water. And there are two things. So we're not allowed to do those two things. Doesn't want to go somewhere we're going to get too many bites. So the ideal scenario is going to be we drive 5 or 6 hours to a place that is big, wild, and has enough big carp to see us catch a few fish, but not too many that Jim's up all night, gets tired and gets grumpy.
I want to see him push to the limit and break.
He's hurt. I think he said he's hurt his arm or something, so he doesn't want to have to like the strain of that. So yeah, hopefully but I don't see that. All he ever wants to do is catch as many carp as possible. So I think if I take him, it could be funny to take him to somewhere that's absolutely teeming with 15-pound commons, and just see what he does. But hopefully we're going to go to somewhere pretty mega and catch a few big carp rather than go somewhere, where it's laid on a plate and catch loads. I think that'd be nice. I think that's what he wants to do. That's what I'd rather do with him. And we're going for a week as well. I was trying to explain to him he didn't have to go for like a whole week. He could not get his head round the fact of driving out there for any less than like a solid 6 nights. So we've got a long session there. I'm going to go with Gaz at some point as well. Don't know where yet. I've spoken to him about it. He's quite busy actually this autumn into the winter. But me, myself, I don't really know. I'm going to try and go to some warmer places, I think. They are out there, aren't there? Places you can go where it's still half decent temperatures throughout the winter months. So
mainly where Samir is, I think.
Yeah, it looks good there. But I'm not really a planner. I don't really plan them.
There's 2 or 3 things there.
But they've got the potential there. I've seen some epic places. We're lucky to have good contacts out in Europe now. So yeah, I don't know where I'm going to go, but it'd be a damn sight warmer than it is in England at that time of year, and I dare say I'll catch some bigger fish as well.
Yeah, almost on the flip side of that, I wrote a blog for the site this week about Birch. I don't know what, and do you know what? I couldn't write in there what you thought of it because I'd never asked you, and I wasn't with you, and I thought half the time it's northern, it's small, the carp are relatively small, L's not going to be buzzing. And I think for that reason, I kind of left it alone. So in my piece, it refers to Steve being buzzing. I didn't really get into whether you were because I don't know. But in a way, I think I wrote in the blog that one of my things that I'd love to do is to spend a couple of nights at Birch on my own in the winter, like Paisley used to. And maybe that could happen one day. I don't know. But what did you think of it? Because obviously, it's a million miles from any kind of fishing you've done before. Yeah, I thought the lake was beautiful. I think it's probably one of the most beautiful lakes you could fish.
It was a beautiful lake. The thing I didn't like about it, that was the overriding feeling I had while I was there, because it's the one feeling you couldn't get escape from was couldn't really move or anything. Once I was in that swim and he was in that swim. He had the middle swim between us left. That was the only thing I didn't like about it. I kind of felt like, oh, well, this is me for the next couple of days, which is a weird feeling to have when you've only just got somewhere, to just sort of know that that's...
It is, but how would you contrast that with the car park lake, for instance?
So, I don't know.
Surely it's the same.
It's like, but it's almost, there's other options to think about. Like, even on a lake where if the whole lake is rammed, at least you can sit there going, oh, well, I wouldn't mind being in that swim that he's in, or that swim that he's in, or that swim that he's in.
Yeah.
Birch, I felt a little bit like, well, I wouldn't mind being in that swim that he's in, and other than that, as kind of like, that's it really. But at the same time, it's nice. Some people probably enjoy, this is my swim for a couple of days. I'm going to look at the swim, and I'm going to go, right, this is where I'm going to start. Maybe they'll end up there. But the lake was beautiful. I saw some really nice carp from the boat. I wish I didn't feel like shit because on that second night, all 3 rods went, but I wasn't recasting after the rods, and I feel like we could have got a real. I feel like there could have been a real like nice fish on the cards. Caught some lovely commons. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I thought the lake was absolutely beautiful. I thought the fishing was really interesting, and yeah, I mean,
it's got those layers to it as well, which I
exactly.
like.
It's a proper
it's
old
got
carp
the history,
lake.
and it's also got the fish in there that's still alive. That that the lads were catching in the 90s. There's 1 or 2 left.
Yeah, the one's Gaz caught.
The one's Gaz caught.
There. Incredible.
The one that I caught that's on my blog. I've been sent a picture of that in 2002. So at £27. So it wasn't a young carp then.
No.
So there's every chance that was knocking
2002.
About. Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Almost 20 years ago. Yeah, like it was a lovely lake. It was a lovely lake. But yeah, that was it. The fish I saw were beautiful. Some of the carp I see in the boat, because you're allowed to use the boat. You're allowed, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're allowed to.
No,
I used the boat.
I think most people do.
Yeah. You're allowed to use the boat on there, and saw some really nice carp. I'd love to be able to, I would love to have been able to use the boat for everything, all the rig dropping and that, because it's a mega little lake, and I feel like to get the best out of it, and to really, that would be pretty cool to do it like that.
Do you know, like, I wasn't expecting it, because when we went with Gaz, it was like someone had written it. It just unfolded perfectly. Yeah. So when we turned back up, I was expecting the same thing, and actually it was more like what Paisley spoke of, with his carp being slightly neurotic. Like, they're well aware of pressure, and actually it was moody as you like, wasn't it? I think you did quite well to...
Yeah, to get the bites we've got.
We did 4 bites maybe in the end.
4. Yeah, I had 4 bites, yeah. Like when we got there and Steve was putting out the mixers and that, obviously Gaz caught quite a lot when he went there, and obviously it transpires that since Gaz went, it's been fished heavily, isn't it?
Yeah, it's that kind of lake. It's booked every week, isn't it?
So now they're probably more aware, and you know, that you ain't going to catch them week in, week out without pushing the boundaries.
Still a challenge. It's a challenging lake.
You know, and I pushed the limits of what I was allowed to do in order to catch stuff. We pushed the limits of what you have to do in order to catch them there, because you know they've got a lot of sanctuary on that lake. And if you're fishing for carp that know you're fishing for them, and they've got a lot of places to hide, unless you get right up in those areas, you're probably going to blank. So
and bear in mind, we've only got a couple of nights, so
yeah.
You could waste a night. I think probably Steve would admit that. I'm sure that realistically he wasn't fishing to the limits on the first night.
No, I watched the film back the other day, obviously because I spent a lot of time in my swim. Steve's was in his swim, and when I watched the film back, one thing I noticed was him like, I'm gonna fish here, and I remember watching him cast his rods out on the first night, and I remember watching it on the video, thinking, you're not.
No, because I think I was partly to blame for that, because it had been like that with Gaz. Gaz fished halfway out.
I didn't fish tight the first night.
Yeah.
I fished like...
Yeah, you did as well, similar.
Yeah, but obviously I didn't know where Steve had fished. No. But by the time I've come away from that trip, I was fishing as tight as on my second night, I was like as tight as I could be. And
actually, Steve did the same. He ended up going into that cave opposite with his left-hand rod, and that's what. And he caught the day. He caught after we left.
That's where you have to be on there. Like, I'm sure not always like that.
No, but it was like I say, Gaz fished halfway to the pad. He fished the middle.
We're like end of summer. We went there end of the summer when it's been fished. From May. If you go in there in May, you probably catch them out in the open water before they've been battered. They've probably been getting hammered from May till. With every week that passes, they probably spend more and more time in those pads and in those trees. But yeah, I'm a bit gutted that we didn't get I'm a bit gutted I ended up feeling so bad. And catching the dreaded C word, coronavirus.
Yeah.
And that kind of put a big down on the trip, and it sort of stopped me finishing that morning, fishing properly through that second night. But yeah, the lake was incredible.
I think some of the drone stuff that we got is some of the favourite stuff I've seen. Look across those.
Yeah.
That part of Shropshire, you've got the hills in the distance. I'm going to speculate that it's the Mendips, but I could be completely wrong. I'm
not going to pass any comment on that. So
and then you've got like the mangrove in view.
I tell you what, a lot of people got very angry for us at saying that was up north.
I know, but
you did say.
I did say
there'll be lots of people that don't class this as up north.
Yeah,
But I can class that as a northern carp, the ones I caught, can't I?
See, right.
Or can I not?
Well,
that's a no then, because you just said yes. Maybe you could leave that in the comment section below as well.
Is Shropshire in the northwest? No, it's in the northwest Midlands for me. But I've never caught a big northwest carp despite growing up there. But I have caught a 34 pounder from Birch. So I'd like to claim it as well. But
we both are then.
I don't think I can. But I have been told by genuine northerners, like who live further north than me, that I can have that as a northern carp. So I reckon
that's fair then.
You know,
as long as one northerner
50-50, mate. It's north compared to you. I think that's what you said. It's as far north as you've ever.
Yeah, I said it. I said some people will maybe have a go at me for class, and this is north, but it's as far north of us as I.
I mean, and it is something that we get levelled at us a lot, and I mentioned it in the blog. Come up north, you know, and actually, you know, I remember fending off those things when we were at Corder because there wasn't the appetite there, but for us there should be. I think maybe not you.
The northern carp are incredible.
Have to go.
They are incredible carp.
We have to do more up there.
Yeah, the thing I always say to people, you never go up north. I'm like, but mate, the people that we go out with, they don't want to go. Even if they're northerners, they don't want to go up north.
No, they're a lot more guarded as well with their fishing. You know, if you've got good fishing in the northwest or the northeast, even bit freer over there probably, but certainly in the northwest, you're keeping stum.
It's not we don't want to go up north, is it? It's not we don't want to go there.
No, I want to go there. I
happily go there. Some of those northern carp, some of the carp I see from up north are absolutely out of this world.
Those grey Cheshire carp.
Amazing. Arguably some of the best carp we still have alive in this country. If anyone wants to message me and say, this is the lake there, I'll come and fish here, by all means we will. But it doesn't really pan out like that. And it's not that we avoid going up north. It's that the anglers that we go out with, if they live down south, they very rarely, bearing in mind they often suggest the venues, they never say, let's go up north. They don't know any venues.
No, that's never going to happen.
No, and the northern anglers don't either. The northern anglers tend to fish down south.
Maybe. I don't know if I agree with that, but the ones that we know do.
That's what I mean. The ones that we're going at, the ones that we talk to, the ones that they don't seem to fish out there.
But that's no reason. We will try harder to do that because, but you know, this sounds like a load of excuses. No one wants to blow their water, especially not when big carp fishing is so thin on the ground.
Yeah.
But you know, watch this space because we will do more.
Especially with Alfie Russell's series, the County Line series. Like
Alfie's gonna be livid, mate.
He's got to go there.
He's got to go there.
So he's got to go there, and we need
Northumberland
people to give us venues for him for our series with him. Park lakes, canals, or rivers. We are going to start to ask the public because, you know, it's hard for us to just rock up in these counties, and sometimes you get in a bit of trouble.
I'm pretty sure that there was carp fishing on Biker Grove, which is a bit of showing my age, but back in the day, someone in Newcastle, part of Biker in Newcastle, there was a carp fishing scene. So put us on the Park Lake with Alfie Russell in the middle of Newcastle.
But we'll go up north. We might have to pay for Alfie will probably end up fishing every event. He's going to have to go up north a lot. No one will have fished up north for Cypography as much as Alfie before long.
Does Alfie even know this? We'll have to charter a plane or something.
Every county, so he must know it. He must know he's got to go there.
He's probably hoping that that's several years ahead, though.
But yeah, it won't be long. We'll definitely go there. And I'm sure if we do, Frank Warwick, we're supposed to do something with Frank. That's north, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that was Shropshire as well, mate.
Okay. That's both my northern trips that aren't even up north. So.
No.
Where is north then?
Manchester? Well, I think because you obviously got Shropshire, and then the next thing up is Cheshire. So
Manchester's not
Cheshire minimum Cheshire.
What the fuck? Where are these?
Manchester's further north than Cheshire, mate.
Where is north though? Where's like a definite north? No one's going to argue. That Cheshire's in Manchester.
Cheshire's south of Manchester.
Oh right, okay.
So it starts south of Manchester anyway, and then goes up. But proper north's like Wyreside, and then if you speak to the Scots, then that ain't north at all.
I ain't going to Scotland. I don't care how many times people ask. I'm not going there. There's no car. Is it? There is some.
There is some mega, mate.
Yeah,
I was starting to listen to Kieran Hopkinson.
The curly hair guy.
Kieran Hopkinson. He's got some iconology this month, which I need to check out.
You loved that. You said
the bit that Mike. So he's done a bit of writing. He's done a bit of writing of his own back. He did a podcast with Mike Holly, which I'm part way through.
Yeah.
And he's done another piece. He's done a piece for Ology because he's since moved to Holland, and now is writing about. I mean, it's a cool title. It was something like Highlands to the Lowlands, because obviously he's gone from the Highlands of Scotland to the Low Country.
Right, got you.
But yeah, cool. I enjoy his stuff. But no, the Scottish stuff's so inspiring to me actually. And if you checked out some of his photography, is mega. And the scenes are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't look anything like our fishing. Yeah. It's gnarly, like stunted trees, rock outcrops, peaty stained waters, and the fish grow to £15. Or you could be Ben Mear, who the Scottish record holder, caught a £44 common from.
I remember that.
Yeah, which for me is
incredible.
As good as it gets. It really is.
My nan lives in Scotland. My nan
good angler.
She was full time. She don't fish no more.
No,
pretty much completed.
Blown out.
She completed the Scottish scene.
Yeah.
She moved away to the mountains. She hasn't fished for ages. But yeah, my nan lives out there. Beautiful place. My brother goes out there. Has been out there a couple of times. He's a photographer.
He doesn't fish either, though, doesn't he?
Doesn't fish, hates it. But been to some amazing places in Scotland.
I've just come back. Not long come back, and there was where we were camped. There was a little river in this glen called Glen Douglas. River was the Douglas, running along the bottom of the river. We camped up right by it so you could hear the burble of the stream at night. Thought it'd be quite nice. Bit loud, but there were these little brownies rising every morning, just down the way, a little bit crystal clear. You could barely see them. They were like microscopic. But for me, I will do it, and friends of mine laugh at this because I never get round to it. I want to get a light fly rod and go and fish some of these, because it's not about the fish, it's where it takes you to.
Yeah.
It's where, and I suppose that's the thing with Europe for you. It's where it takes you to. The fish are largely interchangeable, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Very much.
But you'll go into these incredible, like Amsterdam, incredible surroundings, or Bled. You know, they're all
that's
different in their own way, aren't they?
That thing. It's like it's just so different, and though they are so different. Those places.
Yeah, using a rod to travel the world. You know, like. I think carp fishing can take you to those places. Fly fishing arguably takes you to, even more incredible, like Argentina or New Zealand. Anywhere, frankly. But we'll set up for carp fishing, won't we? Maybe
you won't see me do much else. So yeah,
maybe we can get you carp fishing in Scotland now. Scottish sip people. I can
go and see my nan as well.
Let's put it out there. Where can we go in Scotland? I mean, I'm going to regret this, aren't we?
Nah. Well, actually, you'll have to come. Yeah, okay. People in Scotland.
Crazier venue, the better. Like crazy venues. Let us know that we're not going to blow for someone else. Which is, it's part of it, isn't it?
I would like to go to. Where did he catch that record from?
You can't go straight to the top, mate. No.
If you're from Scotland and you've got any nice venues and you'd like us to come to them, get in touch and maybe we will. Rich definitely will.
I'll come. I'm even called Stewart, which is like partly Scottish, everyone knows that. Because I'm kind of remote from the SIP offices, whose resplendent environment we're now sitting, I don't always get to know what you guys are doing like day to day. But I know there are a few quite things worth mentioning, especially if you're a member. So
yeah, I think so. I think it'd be nice to be able to talk about what we're up to with Cypography. This is a Cypography podcast. I don't think we should have any reason not to talk about what's going on with Cypography. And for the members among us, or maybe the non-members, there's things that, as you can imagine, we're always trying to make our service, if that's what you want to call it, better. Recently, we've now developed the app so you can download. One thing people have always wanted. We've had this for years and years and years. People asking if they can download the films so that they can watch them offline. This, for example, can you download this podcast, listen to it offline? Before, the answer was no. Now the answer is yes. So you don't have to use your mobile data. You can download it on your Wi-Fi, store them on your phone or whatever, and then listen to them offline, watch them offline, whether you're on the plane on holiday, on the tube to work, wherever it may be. For the fishing lake, there's loads of places. It actually amazes me a lot of the time how many places you go to you still don't get signal, even in this day and age. It seems like you should have it anywhere in the world, but that's far from the case. And having the films downloadable now via the app, if you're a Cypography member and you didn't know about the app, we do have an app, have done for a while now. We can download the films to the app. So that's a big thing, and it's something we've wanted to have for a long time, but actually having that developed, all of our stuff is developed in-house. it's built from scratch.
Yeah,
pretty
these
much.
aren't.
It's hard.
This isn't an off the peg app. Like, this
Nah.
isn't something that you can just go out and buy.
No,
with these features, we have to design it.
Yeah,
so.
and it's hard. It's hard. It takes a long time to do it and do it right. So it's done now. If you're a Cypography member, you can download all the films and watch them offline. Sorry. So that's great. Big sigh of relief. Finally get that done. Something else we've been doing recently is really pushing with our members discount scheme. Something that we've done for a long time now. I don't remember when we started it. It was quite a long time ago though. We've been building more and more people into our members discount scheme. The idea is very simple. Cypography, we have a video archive. You watch all of our videos. You pay for the membership every month, and alongside those videos, you get access to members discounts. So as a Cypography member, you're able to go onto the website, look at these discounts from loads and loads of different companies, and then go onto their website, use the discount code and save money on your purchases. And the way we often try to get people to look at it is very simple. You get all the videos for $7.99. That's our base price. The more you go up, the cheaper it gets. You can do 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and they're all discounted. But the base price of $7.99 a month gives you unlimited access to all of the videos. And as a member with your discount, if you save $7.99 on any one of those websites, you're effectively getting your Cypography membership for free. So that is a very simple way of looking at it. And it's a really popular thing with our members. So we've been trying to grow that all the time. And recently we've really pushed on with that. We've got loads of new companies.
Any idea how many we've got, Al?
We've got over 30 now, I think.
Yeah.
Over 30, more in the pipeline as well. So you've only got to save £7. Like if you've got a bait company or something, you save £7 with a bait company, you've got a free Cypography membership. If that's like, you can look at it like that. So yeah, we've really pushed on with that. We're getting more and more all the time. We've just got a lake in France, and that's going to keep growing and growing. So you spent a lot of time on that recently, and that's one of the things we get. We get a lot of comments about that. It's quite nice to hear back from people that that use the discounts and they really appreciate them. So yeah, that's something that I've been spending a lot more time on. Like just recently, we've got a new video editor. There was a period, well, for a long time really, a lot of my time was spent editing videos. If not, we were out filming. Now we've got a new video editor. It's freed up my time to do loads of other stuff, and it's all these kind of things that directly benefit our members that I've been really concentrating my time on, because the bread and butter of Cypography is our videos. Without our videos, we have nothing. Our members don't have their videos, so that has to be looked after first. But since the new guy started doing the editing, or helping with the editing, obviously Rich does a lot of it as well, but the new editor has taken my editing away from me basically, which enables me to concentrate more on other things. And whilst talking about him, he's actually been editing our new vlog. We've got a new blog as well, actually. So we've got a blog and a vlog. We've got all the odds.
Only one of them is filmed by Mike,
aka Dog Rat.
I want to shout Craig out as well.
Yeah, no, okay.
Craig Ansell.
Yeah, I was keeping his name private, so no one started shit. No one started.
Yeah, but he puts our stuff on his story.
He does.
If you ever want studio envy, follow Craig on Instagram, because he's got a hell of a setup.
Yeah, Craig's a ledge. So Craig's like he's great for us. He's a very good editor. Great to have him on board. And at the minute, he's editing our vlog. So on the website now, we have a blog section which is written by me, by Rich, and there will be other anglers as well. So if you're into your reading, you can go on the Cypography website. You can read this for free. You don't actually have to be a member to read these blogs. They're going to go up weekly, every other week, something like that. Just quite keep them regular. But that's the blog section. We're also going to have a vlog section, and the vlog is going to go on YouTube. Like this is. This will go on YouTube. This will go on the Cypography archive. The vlog will go on both as well. But you'll be able to watch that vlog for free. Like you're able to listen to this or watch this for free as well on YouTube. So we're going to try and put a bit of free content out there. We do that with our videos. Some of our older content, we put it online. But these will be, the first place. These will go straight onto YouTube. So rather than being older films that have been put onto YouTube at a later date, these will go straight on there. And the vlog, I love the vlog because it's a behind the scenes look at what we get up to. It's funny. It shows a different side to people. It's not filmed on, it was filmed on a camera we originally called Knob Cam. I don't know who called it. Knob cam has since been retired and it's now going to be filmed on a slightly better camera. But for the last, 6-8 weeks we've been doing that. And the first episode will go out shortly after this. So you'll see this first. This should be going out this weekend, hopefully. So you'll see this and then maybe the following weekend the vlog will come out. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. Cypography vlog. It'll be a behind the scenes look at everything that we get up to. So we take it on all of our shoots. And
knob cam goes where other cameras daren't go.
Yeah, knob cam will take you to places where other knobs will not. Other knobs will not take you.
And operated by a very fine knob,
Mike from behind the cameras,
which is his first gig. I remember my first gig as well, Al. So
yeah, he's done a good job of it. It's funny, like I say, and it will give you a proper insight into what we get up to, which I think is pretty cool.
Just don't judge us.
Yeah, don't judge us. We go to some good places. We go out with some cool guys, and yeah, the vlog will show you a light-hearted look at what happens behind the scenes. The films will show you the polished, the end result of those shoots, which is far more serious than the vlog. But I'm sure you're going to like the vlog. Hope you've enjoyed our first podcast. It won't be the last.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not, yeah.
Unless you all hate it, in which case it will.